What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Summary. I'm your host, Kyle. With me, as always, is Steve. Steve, a lot to get into today on the transfer front. It's been relatively quiet this summer so far, but Liverpool look like they're getting some business done. And a lot of it on the outgoings right now, but we are waiting to kind of see what happens with the Zubimendi deal. But we will get into all of that and more today. First off, how are you doing this morning, Steve?
First question is, how do I sound? Testing.
You sound pretty good. It's a little late for that.
I know.
Yeah.
Second question, how's everybody doing in the chat? Looks like we got Donal, Beth, Liz, of course.
Liz, glad you're doing better. Good to see you back.
I'm doing well, man. It's been a week of more rumors. They feel like hotter rumors now.
They're legit.
Legit. So that's cool. We'll talk about Carvalho, of course, Zubimendi, this goalkeeper, what we think that means. But yeah, man, to answer your question, it's Sunday, and we're going to summarize.
Because this is the Sunday Summary. And Oyvind, you know it wouldn't be the Sunday Summary unless we were at least 6 minutes late. And today we just wanted to push that envelope a little bit further. So shout out to everyone.
To see who's loyal.
Blonde Tips, Luco scores goals. Dude, apparently this nice Diogo Jota goal. I can't find the game anywhere, guys. I tried, and I realized we played at 7:30, maybe 30 minutes after I made the stream. And I was like, oh my God, we play.
Well, that's
we're actually playing. So, but Diogo Jota's goal, man. I'll kind of pull it up here for everyone. We'll probably get some sort of.
Diaz just scored 2, as Liz said.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, let's go ahead. I'll share my screen with everyone here. Lyle, what's going on, my man? Morning. Oh, where are we at here? Nope, that's not the one I wanted to look at. Here we go. You can see, dude, this little chip in and then Diogo left-footed finish.
Wait till you see Diaz's goal. Pull that up next.
Did you just watch it?
Yeah.
Well, they just had Jota's goal. Here we go. Come on, baby.
Little cutback, top right-hand corner.
Cutback. Ooh,
bang.
Laser. He's been watching the show. He said, I got to shut these haters up, bro.
He's like in great form, I feel like, right now.
That's the first game you've seen him play.
No, for country, bro. He played all summer.
Oh, fair enough.
And he was a beast.
I was like, what are you talking about? This is the first game you've seen him play.
Look, he's been in great form. I've seen him play for 12 seconds.
I really think Diaz is going to win the Golden Boot this year. I really do.
No, I think we'll see 10 goals out of him.
10.
I think for some reason, I've thought about this recently. I think under Klopp, it's like, I don't know, he never really found his footing. And I feel like we're going to see some guys that we've been like teetering on the line about take that step forward. And I mean, there's only so many goals you can score. So that may mean we see a little bit less from Mohamed Salah. Like, I don't know. But I think you're going to see some guys that maybe struggled a little bit excel in this new system, and then vice versa. Some guys that excelled in the previous system and looked great all the time, maybe not look so great. But, yeah. So anyways.
Way to wrap that one up, Steve. Yeah. Shout out to Lyle and Jordan. Good morning. Thank you to our channel members, Liz and Oyvind as well. You guys are the best. Smack that like button. And let's just get into this, bro. Let's start off with Carvalho, okay? We'll start off with that outgoing. Completely unexpected, guys. Fabio Carvalho has his medicals booked today for a move to Brentford. Now, it's according to Fabrizio Romano that this deal will be worth $20 million fixed fee with $7.5 million in potential add-ons. And guys, wait for this, okay? 17.5% sell-on clause. Insane deal from the Reds, Steve. Your thoughts on the Fabio Carvalho to Brentford deal?
Um, basically, what I believe is that they were planning this. This was always the plan. And I think it's perfect timing because one, he never really broke into the first team. We sent him out on loan under Klopp, but he excelled on loan. So that's great, right? Brownie points to him. That increases the value a little bit. He comes back, he scores a couple goals in preseason. That raises the stock even higher. So there's no better time to sell than get them while they're hot, right? like,
Yeah.
so I think it was the perfect time. I think this shows us that it was always the plan to move on from him. I mean, he was never going to. I mean, even if he came in and scored like a hat trick every match in preseason, I think he was going to move. That's what
Really?
this deal tells me. And it was just a matter of how much they can push the envelope with his value by keeping him around for a few weeks.
Makes
They
sense.
also needed bodies for the American tour, right? Like,
Yes.
so it's a great deal. If he continues to excel, he could get sold for 50 million at some point in a couple years, maybe to a bigger club. I could see him landing at maybe like a Spurs or something like that. Um, a club of that caliber, right? And if he goes for 50 million, we're getting eight point something million. So it's a win-win for everybody because he's going to play. He wasn't going to play here. But I'll tell you what, this means we have to bring people in now. Like, we have to bring at least one player in, and it cannot just be that goalkeeper. But we'll get into all that.
Well, on that front too, Dominic Solanke was sold to Spurs, and we got a good chunk of change from that as well. I didn't know Dominic Solanke had a sell-on clause. We actually got, I think it was 7.8 mil. Let's just say between 7 and 8 mil for the Dominic Solanke deal. You got to think about all these guys we have clauses in for. I think I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just making this up, but Alberto Moreno, we had one in for. We have one with Rian Brewster. All these players that could be sold on, we could get a little bit of a kickback from. Pez, what's going on? And going back to the goalkeeper, like you said, this guy, I've never heard of him, but this actually, you know what? Not even the goalkeeper. Let's talk about Carvalho a little bit more. It appears that usually if we'll buy a young guy for that kind of money, right? 7 million, whatever he was, 5 to 7 million, we're going to flip him. We're going to sell him on. It's like, oh, this is too good of a deal to pass up. Let's hold on to him for a couple years, loan him out, and then we can quadruple what we sell him for. Okay, I don't know if this was always the plan for Carvalho, personally. He's one of those players where I was like, I almost wanted it to work out. You know, kind of Minamino-ish for me. Just, I was like, man, I kind of want this to work out. But it makes you think maybe that's what all of the young players, the plan is at Liverpool. Like, literally everyone, Sepp Vandenberg, Grujic. Harvey Elliott's the exception, it seems like. But Carvalho,
Connor Bradley.
Connor Bradley, I don't
He's
know.
the exception as well.
Yeah, oh, I thought you meant like he's another example. Calvin Ramsey, right?
If you go
Young
out
guy.
on loan and you crush it, like Bradley and Elliott, that's what they want to see. I mean, Carvalho was good, but he didn't
27
shock
appearances,
the
3
world.
goals or something. Yeah. I mean, nothing exceptional. But
I think he had more goals than that. I mean, it doesn't matter. Best of luck to him, though. I wanted it to work out too, and I think the Minamino comparison you make is perfect. It's like, man, how do you fit in here? This doesn't really seem to make sense, but we like you. We've
see you later.
seen glimpses of stuff. That goal that he scored against Newcastle to win
Oh,
it a
then
couple
dude,
seasons ago.
yeah.
But that's all I can think of, Kyle. I've brought this up many times. When you think about guys like him, I've used the Keita example many times. It's like, what do I think of when I think of a player? Like, what have you done for us? There's just not many. There's only one moment I can think of with Carvalho, and that was that Newcastle last minute tap in.
Right.
Um,
Well, I mean, it wasn't really a tap. It was.
but you know what I mean.
I
It
know
was
what
a
you
close
mean.
range.
Yeah.
Any pro should be putting that in. But that was the moment, and there's nothing else. And he's been here for 3 years,
Yeah,
at least 2 full seasons.
Yeah.
But it's good for him. Oyvind says Keita halftime sub when he got ripped out for Milner. What was that in the Champions League final? I don't know. I don't remember when that was. Actually, first leg Champions League, Real Madrid, 2022 maybe, or 2021. That's what I think of for Keita.
I was having a conversation with a guy about this last night, actually, at the wedding I was at, talking about Keita and how excited I was for that signing. Like, just purely just, wow. I am very excited for this guy to come. You were too. I know you were, because you talk about that a lot, just how excited you were and just how much of a letdown it was. Just how much of a waste. Hannah, what's going on? Yeah, and so the Fabio Carvalho deal is official. You know, he's on his way. He was pictured in London and everything. Like, this is pretty legit. And I'm gonna give the transfer like a 9 out of 10. Transfer a 9 out of 10. I wanted him to work out, and after seeing this preseason, I thought to myself, you know, maybe this is something that we could make work. But then I started thinking about just when is he going to play, Steve? All right. If we're playing a double pivot, right, and you have the amount of left wingers that we have, or left attacking mids, or even he says he's comfortable as a 10, this kid ain't ever playing, bro. And I think a guy of his ability, I think he's better. Like, you can't put him in the same plane as like a Ben Doak or a Morton or Bicetic even. I think Carvalho is actually like a significant step higher than these players. Like, I think him and Connor Bradley might be on the same plane in the sense that their skill exceeds that of just like a cup player. You know what I mean? I think he deserves first team football. And I think ultimately that's why they made this transfer. And I think the sell-on clause not only is just good business, but I think it discourages Brentford from selling him. I think it says to Brentford, hey, hold on to this guy. Like, we want him to be in a stable environment for years to come so he can become good. And like, we care about his development. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I think that's kind of what a sell-on clause says to Brentford.
Well, we got him for
7.7, right?
I'm seeing 12 million.
Okay, potentially
pounds.
Okay.
Pounds, euros. I'm so bad with those symbols. 5.9. 5.9 million.
9 times.
5.9 million, flip them for 20. Come on.
Yeah, no, you can't beat it. It's great business. And Stellar says it in here. Lyle says great signing for Brentford. Everest, what's going on? Hannah, good morning. I'm not sure if I told you good morning. This deal is not something where you're just kind of like, oh, okay, we sold him, right? Grujic, 12 mil, we ended up selling him for maybe 9, right? You're like, oh, that's whatever. See you later, right? Solanke was another great example. I think we sold him to Bournemouth for like 19 million, Steve. Kid played like 4 games for us. 19 mil flip. Keita, 17 mil. This guy, Michael Edwards, right? Even though he's not in the same role he was when he made those deals, this guy, Michael Edwards, is just absurd. I would love to hear him in negotiations, man. Just like how you get these deals. I read this deal, right? It's one thing if you read 20 million, right? For you can get 20 million for Carvalho, right? But then you're like 7 million in add-ons, 17.5 million sell-on clause. If he does what you said and he like ends up at a Tottenham or something, you're potentially looking at up to like 35, 40 million for Carvalho. Fabio Carvalho. That's an insane
I was doing the math in my
deal.
head. You're right. I could see him going for 50 at some point if he excels there. I think the problem with him was he's too small. When I think about players that excel in the Premier League, they're usually, if they're his height, they're usually a bit stockier. I think about like Elliot. Elliot's not tall, but he's stronger. He's got a better work rate and he's stockier. The one, I guess, like maybe one sort of exception to this would be someone like Foden or Coutinho. But the difference with those guys is they're just better. They can shoot from distance. I haven't seen Carvalho pull anything out of nothing before, really. Um, but I think it's a great bit of business, and it works for everyone. I would imagine that's a big deal for Brentford. I don't know what they typically buy players for or what their like record transfer is, but it can't be too high.
I don't think it is.
This is a large deal for Brentford. Like they're putting a lot of faith in this guy. But he's young, so there's time.
Yeah, and the thing with this kind of deal too is it almost sets a precedent for like what we're willing to sell players for, right? You think about Nat Phillips, for example. People are we were talking last week, like, why have we not sold Nat Phillips? Why is Nat Phillips just hanging around? It's probably because we're like, look, this is what we want for Nat Phillips. If you don't want to pay that, that's fine. We'll hold on to him or we'll keep loaning him out. Like, it's not a big deal to us. We'll just hold on to him. But Brentford come in, right? And Brentford, which has some decent players, right? I mean, they're not great, and honestly, couldn't name maybe more than one or two, maybe just Ivan Toney, right? But we actually sold. There was another winger we sold to them, maybe 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years ago. I can't remember his name. Spanish guy, I think. Doesn't matter. So we actually have a relationship with them, but I think Carvalho could do really big things with Brentford. I think what's probably annoying to Carvalho is the fact that, he left Fulham to come to Liverpool, and now he's just right back at a lower club, right? He's just kind of like, what the hell? Why did I even do that? I could have just stayed at Fulham and started every game.
Well, don't forget the Leipzig piece as well. So you
True.
go up to Liverpool, right? We'll call them like an A. Then you go to Leipzig, which is like a B. It's like, let me prove myself here.
That's a good club to go to on loan.
It is. It absolutely is. And then you come back to Liverpool and you're like, all right, maybe. But then you go to Hull City, which is like quite low. And then you come back to Liverpool, new management. Maybe I have a chance. Nope. Go to Brentford.
You start every game in preseason and then see you later.
Well, yeah, that's to raise the value.
Yep.
Well, you just turned down a bid for him a couple weeks ago. Was it for 15 from Southampton? Is that who it was?
Was that for Carvalho?
I thought so.
I thought Hey, maybe it was.
Wait, am I wrong?
I don't think it was. That's why the whole thing was a surprise. I think.
Who'd we just turn down a bid for then? I thought we just turned down a bid for someone.
We turned down a bid for Endo
Southampton, 15 mil.
For Carvalho?
About a week or two ago. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
So we must have held the line, said we want 20.
Hold the line.
Yeah.
Hold the line, bro. Yeah, I just to sum up the Carvalho thing, I think it's a great deal. I'm happy for him that he gets to go to Brentford. But again, I have a certain attachment to him because he's not like every other young player to me. He was in a bracket above some of these other guys. And, I wanted him to work out, but it just seems like a flip deal. Just get him in, hold on to him for a couple years because he's young, flip him, see you later. It's a great business model, okay? And it works because when you buy a young guy and and he wasn't even particularly great, like you mentioned. He was on loan most of the time. He did make some appearances in his first year under Klopp. Like, he was almost subbed on every game for like maybe 2 or 3 months. He made a lot of appearances.
Yes, he did.
It's just like, oh, well, okay, let's flip him for this amount. So that's great. I do want to move on to the goalkeeper situation, though, which is Giorgio Marmardashvili. I tried to do it in one take and I couldn't. Mamardashvili, keeper for Valencia. And this was a surprise to me that we're being linked with a goalkeeper, but I do want to talk with you about why it would be us negotiating for a keeper, right? You look at our goalkeeping depth chart, you got Ali, Kelleher, Jaros, and then Pitaluga probably. right? And the only thing that makes sense to me right now is that if a deal for Kelleher is in the works to go somewhere, and part of me thinks, and you guys can stay with me here as well, I believe that Kelleher is a phenomenal keeper and could get the number one job, no questions asked, if Allison wasn't here. The problem is Allison is what, 32, 31, right? And he's a goalkeeper. Allison's going to play at least another 4 years, right? Before you start talking about, okay, he's in the twilight of his career. Goalkeepers play a lot later than most people, like most other infield players. And or outfield players, however you want to say that. I really think that Kelleher's going to be sold, and he's probably going to be sold for like 30 or 35 million. And I think he's going to be sold to like maybe like a Palace or something. Like, or like I could see him going to like a team like that.
I was looking at Allison's contract here because I was trying to think if there's maybe something else we're missing. And Allison's under contract until the end of 2027 or in June 2027. So this season, next season, 3 more years on his deal. So I was thinking, I don't know, maybe Allison wants to go back home. Maybe Allison wants to go to Saudi. But that doesn't appear to be the case. And I think this is the only logical explanation is that we want Kelleher. Obviously, we want to keep Kelleher, but maybe this is our way of saying, hey, you know what? You've done well by us, been a great servant to the club. You deserve to play first team football, especially at your age. What's he, 20?
He's like 25, 24, 25.
He needs to play.
Yeah.
There's only like 10 clubs in the world. I mean, I may be exaggerating this a bit, that he's not at least battling for first team time. Think about that.
It's probably
think about how many high top tier goalkeepers there are. I mean, we could think about the Premier League. He'd probably start for 12 to 15 teams here.
I'd say he
starts, at least battle for it. At least he's in the conversation.
I'd say he starts, no question, for 5 of them. And he's battling. He's battling for. Well, think about it, bro. Think about the mid-table teams, right? Think about like if you're looking at Villa, if you're looking at Crystal Palace, you're looking at Fulham, right? I mean, some of these teams have good keepers. Like, let's just say, for example, like Martinez or Bernd Leno or like, Wolves, right? If you're like Jose Sa, is he still there? Kelleher ain't starting over Jose Sa. I'm sorry, Jose Sa's a better keeper than Kelleher. You know what I mean? So, but
I don't know about that, Kyle.
Bro, you know he is. Come on.
I mean,
Jose Sa's one of the best keepers in the league.
But why? Because he's at a lower caliber side and he's playing and you see him more? Because I bet if you looked at the numbers, it says otherwise.
Well,
there's other variables in there. Of course, Liverpool has a better defense. But I'm just looking at the table here. Like West Ham, Southampton, Forest, Newcastle, Leicester, Ipswich, Fulham, Everton, Palace, Brighton, Brentford, Bournemouth. Okay. Like, there's a lot of teams he'd start for.
Okay. So I was having trouble thinking of all those teams. So like Bournemouth, Brentford, you said some other teams as well. He would
Palace, Brighton.
Yeah, I don't think
Ipswich, Leicester.
Brighton have some good keepers. Leicester he'd start for. Anyways, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. I do want to give a shout out to Oyvind. He says, always love the pronunciation, Kyle. And Oyvind, I'm gonna give it a shot here. Oyvind. All right. There you go. I think I nailed it that time. Shout out to Oyvind for always supporting the channel. So this guy, Steve, Giorgio Marmadashvili. Can't do it. Know nothing about him, bro. Plays for Valencia, 23 years old, And apparently we have made an offer for him. This is according to Levante EMV, all right, which their bio, Toda la actualidad de la Comunidad Valenciana. So looks like news for the city of Valencia, community of Valencia. So according to them, apparently we made an offer for him. I can't confirm this, right? However, going back to the Kelleher thing, it only makes sense if one of our keepers is outgoing, bro. It only makes sense. And I can't see Allison leaving. I can't. I think it would be an uprising if Allison left.
I don't think he's going anywhere. But this keeper's good, man.
What do you got stats wise?
First, I don't know anything about him. I'm not even going to lie. But the first thing I always do is the first thing I do, call me crazy, is I check their FIFA rating. FIFA rating.
FIFA rating. Interesting.
That gives me an idea of, okay, if they're above 70, because FIFA is very strict with these things sometimes.
I'm going to be honest with you,
some that
bro.
don't make sense.
People might look at that and say, oh, that's such a loser thing to do. But it actually, I love that strategy.
It gives me an idea of how the world views him. If they're above 70, they're a legitimate player.
So you're a follower.
If they're above 80, I guess to some extent.
I'm kidding, bro.
It looks like he's an 81 here overall.
Damn.
Let me check another 80.
Okay.
EAFC 24 and 80. If you're an 80, you're legit.
You're legit.
Anyone that plays FIFA in here can attest to that.
It's like EA Sports or EAFC now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's another one too. But look, if we can move Kelleher for, we'll call it 30, 35, get this guy for 20.
Sure.
You get a solid backup.
Are we being linked with him for 20?
I don't know. I think so.
20. Wow.
I think so. You guys tell me. Let's see. Anyways, if we can just make some money and get a solid backup keeper, we've just made 40 million between Carvalho and the Kelleher swap sort of situation.
And that's the thing, man. I feel like, and even Ben Doak is being linked with a move away. Like we're open to either a loan with an option to buy or just an outright sell. I think there's a lot of difference in opinion right now because a lot of the players we're looking at now. Granted, there's two ways to look at this, right? You can see that, okay, we have a lot of academy players coming up to the first team, and maybe our whole plan the whole time, bro, is to just sell them. Just like, hey, once they get up, if they're not immediately in the first team, you sell them. That's a fine strategy, right? You can just keep pumping out young players and get money for them. That's great business. But then the other way to look at it is, okay, well, if our whole plan with the new training ground was to have these players have a, line to the first team and eventually, join the first team outright and, be a Connor Bradley or a Trent or, something like that, Tyler Morton, Bacetich, whatever, Kwanzaa, why are we selling so many people? But then, right, it's like, what are we going to do? We're just going to let them rot and lose their value? So, Ben Doak, though, what's your take on that?
Surprised?
Yeah.
I feel like we just haven't seen enough. I feel like he's the type of player that's been injured, but we haven't seen enough to say like, oh, stay, go, loan. I don't know. But reading the news about him recently I'm indifferent.
Yeah, at this point.
I'd say.
I think
we just don't have right wingers. So who's the guy? Is it Elliott if Salah goes down, or
here's the thing,
AFCON?
I always forget about AFCON. That tournament sucks.
Is it every other year?
Yeah, it has to be, bro. Or maybe it is every year. I don't know. It's so ridiculous.
I feel like it's every other.
I hope so, dude.
But I also feel like he's gone every year, so I don't know.
Here's my take on the right wing situation. You don't need a left footer. right? Traditionally, yeah, maybe a left footer makes it work. You can put anyone on the right wing to play, right? If they're good with both feet, especially, right? Diogo Jota, I feel like he should be used more over there if we're short, right? I think Diogo Jota has the best weak foot on the team. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
He does.
traditionally, you want a left footer, someone who can cut inside, right? And then you rely on the weaker foot for crosses and such like that. But the problem is how we use our right winger. Salah's a right forward. He's not even a winger, right? So we don't have a wing position. We need someone who can fill in with what Salah does. And how many players are out there like that? That's like a winger striker. You know what I mean? That's pretty rare to have a player
It
like
is
that.
rare. It
So I
is
think
rare.
that's the problem we're running into, which might be why we're so open to selling Doak or really anyone who fits the right wing thing, because it's like, hey, Doak, you're not a striker, buddy. You're an out and out winger, so we're not really going to use you. You know,
I just find that hard to believe that we
yeah,
couldn't use him. When you see him play, dude, like he's a savage. He attacks. He's so pacey.
he's great. I love him.
He's got something that we don't have if you don't have Salah.
This is a good
There's
take.
no one else out there with his pace that's going to play on the right, or that we've seen play on the right, or that is designed to play on the right like that. Now maybe Elliott's the play there. Maybe it's the 4-2-3-1 where you have Elliott who's kind of like a right mid, right winger, and you're just playing with one up top. I don't know what the plan is.
We'll see.
But
If
you
we
don't need insane delivery from a right winger because you have Trent who's always up there.
That's a great point. If you have overlapping fullbacks or just, wing backs, you don't really need too much chance creation from the right wing. I like that Neuven here says Robbo does not have a weak foot. You're right. Robbo is a one-footed player. That is
Robbo
correct.
is a one-footed player. Fabinho was a one-footed player.
I never would have said that.
Like,
That's interesting. Yeah.
I can't think of Fabinho doing anything with his left foot the whole time he was here.
Look, you're probably right. I just never would have grabbed Fabinho out of the hat to say that.
Yeah. Well, I've thought about this many times.
Yeah.
The weak foot scenario. I can't think of many.
Look at this. Look at this. Daniela Stewart here. So the next one is okay. So it is every other year. So I like that. And Daniela, you asked a question earlier, and I just want to touch on this before we transition into the Zubimendi thing. Daniela asked what we thought of West Ham's transfer window, and I do want to kind of touch on this because I've been following every deal that happens. West Ham are doing some great business. Some really good business. I think they have a little niche that they fit into where they get these players that are not quite great enough to go to a top 6 side, and they get them. Like, they just got a deal done for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, bro. They got Juan Todibo Claire in, who's like a really promising young center back. Kurt Zuma a few years ago, right? I think they brought in not Lenormand. Was it Lenormand? 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 I think. Hold on. I think it was Lenormand. Robin Lenormand. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't see that here.
Okay, maybe I'm imagining that. What the hell? Yeah, I must be going crazy. Okay, so we'll roll with it. He plays for Athletic Madrid. Maybe he was a Guerd. Anyway, they have some really, and Mohamed Kudus, for example, they're getting good players. I think West Ham, they're always active. They're like a better version of Chelsea, in my opinion. Way better version of Chelsea when it comes to transfers. Lenormand went to Athletic. Why did I think they went to West Ham? I'm an idiot for that.
They got Somerville, Fulkrug. They spent 30 on Somerville.
Yeah, that's a lot. Hey, but we just sold Carvalho for up to 27, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
I guess that's what you're
Max Kilman, 47.5 mil from Wolves.
That's an interesting deal, isn't it? Max
That's a
Kilman
bad purchase. He's 27.
Yeah, that is a bad
50 million
Yeah.
for a guy that's not an everyday player, a nailed-on starter.
Yeah.
Maybe he
Kilman.
is to them, but he shouldn't be.
Well, you look at who West Ham, didn't they still have that the bald guy on the books? That old guy? They're probably replacing some like used hardware.
Zapata.
No.
Uh,
He played for Juventus and they got him, and he's old. He's like 38 or something. Doesn't matter. I can't remember right now. But Lyle brings up the point about Chelsea having 45 squad. Ogbonna, thank you, Stellar. God, I love you. Thank you. Ogbonna. I couldn't remember his name.
Angelo Ogbonna. He plays a lot.
He's gone. I guess he's gone now, dude. I thought he still played there. But you look at West Ham's lineup and they're not terrible, bro. They're really not. They got a solid team, and if they're holding on to Paqueta, I think, unless Paqueta left. I don't think he did. But
well,
I think
they
he's
made
still
a
there.
ton. Well, they won the Conference League. Is that what they won? I think so.
Yeah,
Two seasons ago, and then they cashed in on Declan Rice, so they're just reinvesting that back into the squad.
They sold Zuma too? Damn. Okay, now all these transfers make more sense. I've been following the incomings, I guess. So Zuma's gone. So Daniela, thank you very much. I'm not sure if you're a West Ham supporter, but yeah, they've had some pretty crazy deals. So Liz, thanks for being here. Good luck with the meeting with the surgeon. And Steve, let's jump right into the big news, which is Zubimendi, bro. Zubimendi. Young defensive mid playing for Real Sociedad, and a player that most of us know who he is, but didn't think we'd be linked with. Right? There are a lot of other players we were linked with much heavier than him. And you know how it goes. As soon as we're linked with a player, guess who's suddenly the best player in the world and we have to get him? That player.
Drives me nuts.
It is kind of an annoying thing, but also I get it because I'm just as excited when we're linked heavily with a player, right? It's not like Liverpool are scouting this guy. Liverpool are interested, keeping tabs, right?
Yeah, keeping tabs FC.
Keeping tabs FC. This is a legitimate link. This is legitimate. Like Liverpool are trying to structure a deal. And the latest news, guys, is that it's around 60 million. Whether that's the release clause or what Sociedad are asking for, I'm not exactly sure. But Fabrizio Romano is claiming, and Ornstein as well, that Liverpool are looking to structure a deal, like a payment structure over 4 to 5 years, which classic Liverpool, right? And the biggest thing now is Zubimendi's been at this club his whole career, right? I think Sociedad are like a Basque region team, which there's a lot of loyalty over there. And he just broke into the first team like within the last 5 years. And he's a staple for them. So they want to offer him a new deal at Sociedad, but the problem is the terms come nowhere near to what Liverpool can offer him. So right now, what they're saying is that there's no deal in place yet, but he is leaning more towards going to Liverpool than he is staying at Sociedad. And I saw a guess of what it could be, and right now it's like 60-40 in favor of Liverpool. So, Steve, what I would like to hear is if you have any thoughts on Zubimendi and what were your initial reactions when you did see this news?
Let's circle back. You said nowhere near what Liverpool could offer him. Is that wage-wise?
Correct. Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? So
yes.
What do you mean by that? Because I haven't read into that side of things.
So Sociedad, and I don't have figures either. What I saw is that Sociedad are ready to offer him a new deal with improved terms, but those terms wouldn't be able to match what Liverpool could offer, right? Premier League club offer more money. And so if I had to guess based on looking at the other wages of players we have, we could probably offer him around 100, right? 100K a week.
Sociedad,
we could offer him more. I mean, if you look at like McAllister, for example, is on I think he's on 120. I could be wrong. But we offer
a lot
of
a new deal. Sorry.
Yeah. No, he does.
He needs to be renewed every year.
Well,
Every single year he needs to
had
be
1
renewed
year.
for a 20K a week pay bump. Every
Dude,
year.
he's had 1 year. Let's relax, okay? I want to look up what he's getting paid right now because it's probably like 20 or 30K. I guarantee it. Oh wow, that's actually surprising. So he is on right now 58,000 euros a week at Sociedad. So this is what I saw. So even with our strict wage structure, referring to Liverpool, we can comfortably offer him a better deal. So unless Sociedad is offering the highest wage in the club's history, we have nothing to worry about. And this is kind of what I was getting at. So if you say he's earning 58 now, Liverpool are comfortable offering him 100K plus, right? It wouldn't surprise me if we're getting up into the 130s range, right? That's what a lot of our midfielders tend to make anyway. It seems like, they're in that range. And I think he's 24 years old, right? Could be wrong, but I think it's doable. Well,
It's very
now,
doable.
now I'm seeing this. It says none of this makes any freaking sense, dude. Why are there so many different reports of what players make? According to this, he makes 35,000 pounds a week. So unless there's no way euros is that much more. No, that doesn't make any sense.
57.
No, this is stupid. Yeah, that's what I saw too. This salary sport, yeah, you're not accurate. Screw you.
He can just double his. He could double it. He could get 115, 120. Yeah. That's probably something. We'd probably have to do something like that to get the deal done. So when you had asked me what were my thoughts when I first heard it, I think it's great. It's not. It looks like a Liverpool signing. A guy that's not like one of the hottest names in Europe. It's not going to cost you 100 mil. He's a little bit more than we typically, I think, tend to spend, but we've kind of started creeping up a little bit more over the years with the Szoboszlai 50.
Szoboszlai was more than that, bro. You said
Darwin
that last
Nunez.
Week.
The Darwin Nunez stuff. Okay, so Szoboszlai was more than that. Yeah, you're right. But that's what I mean. This is perfect. So I think our threshold has gone up a little bit, and I think it's the only position in the squad, unless you're like an Mbappe or someone, where you can say, oh, I'm going to play there regularly. Like, I'm in. I can walk into one of the biggest clubs in the world. And as long as I play to the level I've been playing and don't completely screw it up, I can play for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Arguably the biggest on a regular basis, a nailed-on starter. So my concern is not from his side of things, but what we've been reading and seeing is that they will do anything they can to keep him. That, coupled with the fact that Marino is potentially on the outs to Arsenal, makes it so that the club could cash in on these guys, but the fan base would certainly not be happy. It's getting later in the window, so it's tough for them to bring in replacements.
Sure.
That's my concern. Now, if you pay the release clause, it doesn't matter, correct? But you have to pay it at once.
Right. And obviously they could override that by having him sign a new deal, but obviously the player has to agree to that. And Red Chabi here says we will pay the release clause, but only Zubimendi can trigger it. We pay it on his behalf. So he has to
looking for.
Yeah, he has to give the green light, basically saying, hey, I want to go. And then they accept the bid.
I don't think there's any world in which he turns down Liverpool. But we just need to literally just put the money up.
Well, what's interesting
60 million up front. Get your guy, get him in training by Wednesday night. Like, seriously.
No, yeah.
We don't have time.
Let me ask you this, though. So again, a lot of this stuff, you got to take it with a grain of salt because you don't know how true it is. He's turned down moves to Arsenal and Man United, right? I don't blame you, right? But Pedro Neto, right? I know, even she's crying when you bring up Man United. It's crazy. You bring up like Pedro Neto making that move to Chelsea, first off. That's a great signing, by the way. I would have loved to have Pedro Neto. But what is it about this player turning down Arsenal and Man United but being tempted by Liverpool? I mean, I get it, right? I know. Liverpool is a stable club. Why would you not want to come to Liverpool? But does that ever kind of get in the back of your head, bro? Like, man, this guy, he's not just motivated by money, as a lot of people have said in the chat. What are the chances that he's just like, I want to stay. I want to stay.
Well, it's his boyhood club, is it not?
It is.
Okay, so in order to leave, I mean, these guys, there's a real attachment there to the supporters, to the club. It's all he knows. However, if you look at Arsenal, they have Declan Rice. And do they still have Thomas Partey?
Jesus
I mean,
Christ.
he's been banged up for a while, but he's a defensive midfielder, so there's competition there. You don't want to go to United necessarily if you have a level head, because it's been a dumpster fire.
Yep.
And that manager could be on the outs any day now. The only thing keeping him alive is these cups that he's winning.
They fired him.
So
they fired him and then gave him a new deal.
Yeah. No, it's like, it's mind-blowing to me. But I feel like it's easy for us to see this. It's easy for us to be like, yeah, well, I wouldn't go to Arsenal because I wouldn't play. I wouldn't go to United because I probably wouldn't play a ton. And the managers, who knows? But I feel like players have a harder time seeing that because they don't view it like we do. But maybe this guy has a level head and he's saying Liverpool makes sense because they haven't filled the Fabinho slot. That's me. I can go there for 6 years.
Yes. And, as a player or as a fan, a level-headed fan, I respect that mindset so much. And again, we're just speculating that he has that mindset. But I'd like to think if I was a player, that's how I would look at it. That's how I would look at every transfer, right? Yeah, part of me would think, oh shit, they're tripling, quadrupling my salary, right? Man United or Arsenal, let's say. But I actually looked at the wages at Arsenal. They don't pay a terrible amount. Like, players really aren't making. The last player to make like buku bucks at Arsenal, I think, was Aubameyang. But
Alexis Sanchez, I think, too.
Oh yeah, true. But Man United, for example, they just overpay players. It's just absurd how much players make. So this guy clearly is not motivated by money, or he's just he values the quality of where he's going and the environment over the money, which is a big part of being a good and consistent football player. You got to be happy where you're at. You have to be. I think he's perfect for what the club embodies. If I'm strictly going off of like the very little information I have about him, bring him in, bro. Why not?
He probably, like, this is how I think about it. He probably looks at other guys that have gone to big clubs that don't need that position filled, and what happens to them? Like Van de Beek.
It's a shame.
Like,
yep,
similar kind of player. Nothing.
Not nearly as talented, I don't think, but you're right.
I don't know. I think of like Calvin Phillips. Like, they didn't need him, and it shows.
Who?
Calvin Phillips at Man City.
Oh, God. I forgot all about him.
Like, these big clubs that buy players but don't necessarily need them, it just typically doesn't work out well. No. Like, Liverpool need you, bro. Like, we need you.
We desperately need you, man.
And I think you need us.
You think that's what Edwards is saying? You need us.
We could just change your life. We could double your money. Yeah. And do you want trophies? Because you're not getting any there.
Yeah, fair. That's a good point. They have a pretty talented team, though. But I think, let's just take Zubimendi out of the picture real quick. Is there any other player, right? Any other player aside from Declan Rice? I know you love Declan Rice. But is there any other player that you think would be a legitimate option for Liverpool? Right. And the only other player that we've been linked with is the Crystal Palace defensive midfielder, who I can't even remember his name right now. Decore, I think his name was. Right. That's literally the only other player that I could think of, aside from every other player we've been linked with that's kind of like rejected us.
I would say Kimmich.
I know, yeah, Kimmich.
I think Kimmich is a player that can come in and help us win 2 or 3 trophies over the next 2 seasons. Before guys like Van Dijk and Allison, you start to see them part. Salah, Robertson, guys that are getting up there in age.
Mhm.
Like, we need players that are going to help us win right now. And
Okay.
if it's not someone like Zubimendi, who's hot in Europe right now, who's of the perfect age, who's of for a decent price, I think you do like a Thiago type deal with a Kimmich for 30 mil. I would like to see that. I would prefer that over Zubimendi, if I'm being honest.
I know. Yeah. I don't know if I
But
would.
then
I know a
in
lot of
3 years,
people
we're
would.
having a different in 2 or 3 years, we're having a different conversation. So in the long run, Zubimendi might be the better fit. But a guy like Kimmich, I've said it many times this summer, it makes too much sense.
Sure.
It makes too much sense.
Chat throwing out names. Ederson, right? Ederson, I think of Atalanta or Inter, one of those two. Could be wrong. Varela is another good one from Stellar. Wharton's a name I'm not familiar with. Educate me, please. Shayna says Kubo. Kubo's a winger. So Luis Garcia here says that Madrid want Kimmich to replace Cruz. And
He's
you know,
not
to
going
be
there.
honest with you, Madrid have just so much depth right now, midfield wise and attacking wise. Maybe not depth, but just so much talent. I mean, you have Chouameni, Camavinga, and Bellingham, right? And even though Bellingham's been playing kind of a false nine, which is interesting, that's a phenomenal midfield and a young midfield at that. So again, going back to the original question, I feel like there's not many players out there that I'm kind of blown away by. And to be honest, I'm not blown away with Zubimendi either. But after hearing the name and doing a little bit of research, it's kind of like, okay, I can see why they want this guy. And I don't know if you've watched any of his, like a lot of the analysis videos out there, any of the compilation videos of his skills, but the guy's passing and feel for the game are kind of next level. Very talented player in that sense. Defensive wise, I haven't watched too much on that, but a lot of people are just talking about his feel for the game. And as Slot's double pivot role, you need to be able to receive the ball and just feel where you're at, know where you're at. We saw Endo struggled with that the very first preseason match. He didn't know what planet he was on when he got the ball to his feet. Curtis Jones is okay at it, right? And you know, I'll probably go back and watch the game and we'll see a little bit more today, but you need a player who can receive the ball to his feet and just knows what's around him, just has that feel. And it appears that Zubimendi's that guy.
He is. He is a combination. If you took McAllister in the 6 and Endo in the 6 and they had a child, it would be Zubimendi. You're going to get the strength from both of them, the defensive aspects from Endo, the passing from McAllister, the IQ of McAllister. McAllister's just not designed to necessarily play that.
Right.
We will see him. We will see him do that. But I mean, if Zubimendi comes in and Endo's his backup, we're fine at the 6.
Yeah, no, we are. We're completely fine.
Then you got McAllister as a third option there in the 6. Jones as a 4th. Bacetic. Like, all of a sudden, that's our deepest position now. Obviously not, but I mean, dude, we're right on the cusp of a lot of trophies, man.
No,
This could put you over the edge. You let McAllister do what he needs to do and stop worrying about being so defensive minded. Changes everything. You give Szoboszlai a little bit more freedom, he gets back into form. Our midfield is insane. Zubimendi, McAllister, Szoboszlai on assuming he gets back into form.
That's nasty. That's a nasty midfield.
You have to be near perfect this year. Arsenal have gotten better. I don't think their defense will be as good this year, but they've strengthened the squad. We got to strengthen somewhere. Because City's still City. United has strengthened, it looks like. I would imagine Chelsea won't be a complete dumpster fire all year.
Let's hope so.
It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough out there.
Dude, Chelsea's potential attack is a problem. I mean, if you're looking at Victor Osimhen, Neto, Cole Palmer, and if Nkunku can stay healthy, that's on paper, that's a nasty attack. Nasty attack. And Stellar brings up the fact that Trent and Zubimendi as a double pivot is interesting. It's an interesting thought, but I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I see Trent as he's just going to play way more wide and way more forward. I just think that's what's going to happen. He's going to play right back.
Depends on how much Slot trusts Bradley.
Yeah.
Because Trent has to play.
Yeah.
Even if Trent's not as good defensively as Bradley, which you could make the case that is accurate at times, he still has to play. You can't have a world-class player on the bench. You got to find a place for him.
Yeah.
But Bradley looks good, man. He has for a while. So
yeah, he's got the talent there, and the problem is, Bradley's going to play. There's no question. But the problem is, if you just say, "Hey, Trent, you're not playing right back this year. You're gonna play in this double pivot," then you have a right back problem.
Not if you keep Gomez.
Well, but then you have a center back problem.
Would kill to have Joel. Yeah, well, there you go.
Right?
It's a chain reaction.
It's just a chain. So
I mean, yeah.
Lyle said this is an interesting point. There's not a single Chelsea player who makes our 11.
I think Enzo Fernandez makes our 11. I think he's better than Szoboszlai. For right now.
He might be the only one you could even argue, but if you think about if you're making purely right now, you're right. I think Enzo starts with McAllister and Szoboszlai, do they not?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, Enzo is a great player. It's really almost too bad that he went to Chelsea. Because I would like him a lot more if he wasn't there. Because I love his game. But he's kind of annoying. He costs so much and he hasn't been spectacular, but you see glimpses of that. And he's quite the player. He is quite the maestro.
Does Mudryk still play for Chelsea?
He does. Who's going to buy him? Can't go anywhere.
You can't, dude. No one is buying him. Nobody.
Loan him out.
Who's buying Mudryk?
Dude, I mean, people would buy him, but for like 30 million. They'd take a 70 million pay cut. $70 million loss.
I could see him going to, you know what? He's the kind of player that like a West Ham or a Villa buy. Like, player doesn't work out at Chelsea and you sell him at a discount for like 40 mil, like you said, and he plays for them.
I don't think we'll see him in the league if he leaves Chelsea. I think he's gone. I think he'll end up somewhere like maybe Ajax or Galatasaray, somewhere in Turkey.
Didn't they buy him
see him here again?
Galatasaray, or
I think he was at Shakhtar Donetsk.
That's what it was. Okay, yeah, interesting takes, bro. Yeah, we could go on about Chelsea, but overall, just to kind of sum up everything here, right? We got Carvalho on his way out, which doesn't really leave a hole necessarily, but it does leave, a little bit more space in the midfield per se, even though Slot was playing him on the left. For playtime for players like Gravenberch and Elliott, for example, right? So that's good news, especially with the formation that seems like Slot wants to play. Zubimendi, let's consider the deal done. I'm going to think positive thoughts about it, get him in. And then what's the next order of business, Steve? We get a center back, or that's it?
I don't think they will. I think, and I actually hate to say this, but I think we can survive until the January transfer window with Konate, Kwanzaa, Gomez, and Van Dijk. I think maybe Slot, the more I think about it, because there aren't any heavy links for center backs, I think Slot's like, no, Gomez, you're a center back. We can use you at right. We can use you at left, but we got Tsimikas and Robbo over there. We got Trent and Bradley over here. You are a center back. I think maybe that's the thought process. And if those are your four center backs, you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
We've been calling for a center back over and over and over. But if you have Kwanzaa, Konate, Van Dijk, and Gomez, even if Gomez is the fourth best out of those, which he is, that's more depth than maybe every other top six side.
But why does it not feel like that?
It doesn't feel like that because Gomez hasn't played there in a while, and Kwanzaa is still so young. Plus Kanate, form, so it doesn't feel great. But you can survive the first half of the year, I believe, with those four. If that's how he's viewing it, you can survive. So bring in a 6, assess what you have until the January transfer window. Again, I don't want that to be the case, but I think we are okay. If we get Zubimendi in, I think it's okay if we stop there. Again, I want more. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but we will be okay. We're not going to get started in the season and go, God, our center backs suck, because they don't. We just want an extra one.
Right. Leave it to next summer. Right? We still
or January. We got a different manager in here. He may love January transfers. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Things are different in January, though. Teams are usually less likely to sell, and unless it's a really, really good deal, like Gakpo, for example, right? Or Diaz. I feel like we've got some good deals done in January, actually, but that remains to be seen. When January comes, we'll assess that. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Appreciate the input, and thank you to our channel members. You guys are loyal, and you help support the channel. Steve, thank you for your input. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Nope. Let's get Zubimendi in. That's all I'm thinking.
Get
and we're
Zubimendi
crushing these guys right now.
Yeah, I heard Neoni scored.
4-1.
Neoni, bro. Neoni. God, that kid. I love that kid. That's my closing thought. Neoni. Remember the name, guys. Remember the name. Thanks again, guys. And until next week, take care.